Hello everybody, my name is Shadow here, and I'm from the VillianSyndicate, and we are here today playing another adventure of Rise of Nations. Now this is a different type of, this is a different type of match. This is no longer we're playing with swords and stones or rifles. We are now playing with nuclear weapons and powerful armies, I suppose. We are playing World War II with the Americans, the Russians, and the British versus the Germans. And I probably should change one of them to the Japanese. Yep, here we go. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys on the battlefield, and hope you guys like really big explosions. That's all I gotta say. We are here playing as the Americans versus the Germans and the Japanese. And we are here in New York City, my Capitol building. And this is the modern age, which means this is the time period of the Corleone, well, not the Mafia, but Tommy guns and airplanes. Well, big airplanes, not the small ones or the Wright brother airplanes, but the big ones. So you're gonna see pretty soon how active this time period really was. This is about the time when Hitler took power and when the world went to hell. When the Nazi regime pretty much encircled the world like a cancer. And our allies will be myself, Brian, which is my real name, King Richard III, which I believe that was either Lionheart or something else, Alaric the Visigoth, who we talked about in the earliest game about the Germanic tribes, and Otto von Bismarck, which was the Russian, I believe. Wait, those are the enemies. I'm sorry. Our allies are Thomas Jefferson, which is American, Vladimir Lenin, which is the Russian, and Richard the Lionheart, which was the British. Enemies are Alaric the Visigoth, which is the Germans, Shogun Ieyasu Tokugawa, which was the Japanese, and Otto von Bismarck, which was also a German. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and show you how the military works in these times. Let us build a barracks, and this music is really loud. And I have an unfortunate problem with this part of the game that my allies tend to love to shoot off nuclear warheads a lot. I don't know if there's something in the game or if it's just like that in general, but yeah, they like to shoot off nuclear warheads, so I had to actually enable a script to stop them from shooting warheads off. They're kind of like North Korea when it comes to their warheads. They really want to test them a lot. As you can see, the Russians have taken the full power. And we have the Red Guard infantry. They are coming in to stop Nazi Germany. Hitler will not know what hit him. As you can see, we have the Russians preparing for war. We have the T-20 tanks. I believe that's what they're called. T-2 tanks or T-20. And we have our American soldiers, which are the modern infantry, the Marine soldiers. We have our flamethrowers, we have our bazookas, and we have our people. So, the Americans had the Sherman tanks. What else did they have? They had Shermans, they had... That's all I can remember. But these are our American infantry soldiers. As you can see, Bob over here is smoking a cigarette and he won't listen to my orders, so I'm going to go ahead and kick Bob if he doesn't listen to my orders. There he is. As you can see, our machine gunners are fully active. And... wait, are you telling me that it's surrounded by a single landmass? Okay, it is. As you can see, this is the British Army. We have infantry, just regular infantry soldiers. We have... what's this? As you can tell from that noise, a warhead was launched, but that was just a small little missile. There's a problem though in regards to this situation, because in this certain time period in the information age, which is basically modern day America and modern day, 21st century, the developers of this game really made a bug when it comes to the modern and the information age, where the AI will shoot non-stop nuclear warheads, and I really mean non-stop. And as you see the bombing of the Versailles, and these are our American forces bombing the Germans. Now, what I mean by the AI bug is that you can see they're launching their little missiles right now. Well, they keep launching the little missiles, and because I have the script disabled right now, well, the script enabled, I mean, they are no longer allowed to launch nuclear warheads. What that means basically is I will no longer have my screen shaking nonstop, and I will no longer see my FPS go off the radar. And that's exactly what happens in this game, is my FPS will go off the radar because of a small bug that the developers never really fixed. So let's look at our enemies. Germany seems to be building the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which I don't know why they always decide to do that. Our American counterparts, Thomas Jefferson's forces, are sending in the Howitzer, or the Howitzer, which is basically a artillery tank. It will shoot off mortar shells. Our Russian allies are preparing their God, I hate that noise so much. Are preparing their Katyusha rockets, which basically they are the ultimate. If anybody here played Company of Heroes before, Katyusha rockets are basically. They're basically trucks with incredibly powerful rockets and long-range rockets on them. Bombing of Versailles. I think isn't that Versailles? Yes, this is Versailles. Yeah, what I mean by the AI bug is, just imagine those little small rockets turning into nuclear warheads, and when the nuclear warhead drops on this game, the entire screen shakes and it will go like almost white. And they tend to love to shoot their warheads off a lot. I don't know why, but they just tend to. What that basically means is that if you're recording the game, as you can see, they're just shooting them non-stop now. It's kind of annoying. This is why I prefer the old version of the game instead of the new one. Japanese are full assault of our British counterparts, which is never part of the deal, or never part of the history. And Yogi Bear and his companions are just walking in the middle of this conflict, just like, I don't care, I just want my honey. So the Germans are in full assault now. This is not good. These are the Germans, and they're carrying the STGs 44 is what it's called, I think, the guns they carry in this game at least. Usually Germans would have carried the STG 44 or the MP40, and these are the Germans with their flamethrowers. These are the MG42, which is a special unit in the Germany faction. And yeah, Germany is trying to assault us with their Tiger tanks now. They had Panzer tanks and they had Tiger tanks. And later on they transferred those tanks over to Leopard tanks. As you can see, the Japanese are in full assault of the British counterparts, King Richard's forces, and his. God, I can't remember what those tanks are called. I know what I just can't remember what the name of it is. Some of these tanks' names are called Stugs, and these are Stugs right here. These are Japanese arrows, and they're having a dogfight right now with their British counterparts. And for some reason, the Japanese have the Colosseum. Maybe that's where the samurai went to fight? I have no idea. But as you can see, we are having problems when it comes to, you know, it's just the bug itself. So what do the ships on this game look like, or this, I guess you can say, time period? Well, the ships in this time period look a little different than they did earlier with the Romans. They look a lot different, actually. Instead of shooting off missiles, well, instead of shooting off arrows, these things shoot off, you know, fully loaded artillery. And they're very, very fast. We also have air bases in this game. Well, we had it in the World War I, which is the Industrial Age, but it wasn't really as advanced as these. But I kind of do like the Industrial Age because at least I didn't hear these freaking sirens all the time. So, let me go ahead and show you what the military base would look like. If I can I upgrade? Nope. Stuck where it is. Okay, so this is the shipyard. Now we have a battleship, the cruiser, and the aircraft carrier. Let me go ahead and show what the aircraft carrier does. The aircraft carrier is like a normal aircraft carrier of 1942 times or 1940s. Basically, what it was, it basically has a approximate number of 10 aircrafts, I believe. You'll see in a minute. Here it is. So we can spawn aircrafts. So we can only spawn 7. Okay, so we can only spawn 7 aircrafts. Let's go ahead and move in the middle of the island. Now let's spawn a submarine. The submarine will go underwater and attack the enemy, which will basically enable it to be invisible, or like a ghost, sort of. These are the Russians. The Russians are sending their full assault on the Germans right now, which is like they normally would. In World War II, Germany was defeated by the Russians because the Russians had taken back Stalingrad, and basically the German falcon, or the German bird, I'm not really sure what the Germans used for symbols back then, had poked the the sleeping bear. And when you poke a bear, you better have some honey, or it's gonna bite the shit out of you, or it's gonna claw you to death, pretty much. So basically, oh, there's horses out here. Basically, what happened was, Germany underestimated Russia and thought they could take over Russia's entire, country or area of land, I suppose. And it backfired on them. There's a submarine right there. It's underwater, as you can tell. But it backfired completely on them because not only did Russia have a strong army, they had a strong, just connection. They had well over a couple million soldiers, and they just bum rushed Germany completely with every single person they ever had. They had women as, commanders in the Russian army. My grandfather was actually a prisoner of war. He was a soldier in World War II fighting against the Germans. And he was captured near a camp that was beside or nearby Poland. And when the Russians invaded Poland, or reinvaded, I guess you can say, he was freed by a Russian commander, and the Russian commander happened to be a female. I'm not for certain how that's possible that, the females got to be the commanders. I suppose that, they might have been able to join the military beforehand, but I highly doubt that. Just in my own opinions, I'm not trying to sound sexist, but I highly doubt that they would automatically just elect them the military commanders for nothing. So let's go ahead and see how these soldiers do. I'm gonna go ahead and bomb these freaking things because they're annoying. Now, as you can see, my planes are in full flight, and watch as they bomb the enemies. Now, the enemies cannot really touch us. Well, they can because they can't really touch us from the ground, but they can with their aircrafts, which is called the dogfight. And I like that about this game is that in the modern era that you can actually do dogfight mode. And let's go ahead and build us a silo. Now, if I had the nuclear warhead, enabled, I could go ahead and show you what a warhead looks like, but trust me, you really don't want to see it because you have non-stop, that siren in your ear non-stop, and the screen will be shaking non-stop. So, what happens when somebody attacks your aircraft carrier? Well, your planes are on self-defense mode, which means that, say, if someone were to attack your aircraft carrier, they would automatically spawn out of the aircraft carrier and defend the aircraft carrier. They're also on this constant assault pattern where once you give them a direct order, they'll keep coming out of the aircraft carrier once they reload for fuel, reload for everything, and they'll just keep, coming back and back and back. So we have the battleship to show you and the rest of the stuff. Now the Germans seem to be invading, or trying to invade at least, the American side of Washington. I believe Russia has captured Dresden. Yep, they have. Koblenz is on German property, but it seems to be under Russian property pretty soon. Now, the British have taken Ise, which is a Japanese city from the look of it, just alone. And the good thing about this game is that your allies, like I said in the previous video... Oh no you don't. Your allies in the previous, like I said in the previous times, they will actually come to your aid if you're under attack. All you have to do is, give them a symbol like this right here. signal other players. It will automatically like spawn to your allies, even if they're AI or not, that you need assistance. So this is my battleship. My battleship looks like a, it does look like a World War II cruiser, but it looks more, I guess you can say, cartoonish. This is my cruiser. My cruiser, on the other hand, just in my own eyes, looks nothing like a cruiser from World War II. It looks more like a cruiser from Anno 2070 or 2700. I'm not really sure what it's called. But just to show you how powerful these things are, let's go ahead and move them into enemy territory. Now, as you can see, the American forces are in full conflict with the Germans right now. It's not real-time. It's not actually, turn-based strategy, and it's not going to be like direct one shot, one kill. But it is what it is, I suppose. I mean, it is a good game. You can't doubt that for a second, just because the gameplay is, not perfect, but it's good enough in my own opinion. It seems the Americans over here, or Jefferson's forces, are preparing either for, just to burn their enemies to death, or they're having a really big barbecue. No idea. As you can see, my cruiser got there quicker because it's made for speed. Now I can go ahead and fire off my, my cannons and destroy this building over here pretty easily. This thing, even though it's got a quicker speed, it's got less radius, while my battleship's got longer radius. I can go ahead and destroy this German caravan right here, which is not going to take very long at all. I can also bombard the ground, which basically means that, you'll see in a minute, I could just bombard this entire building right here without actually being seen at all. I have no idea what that is. Factory. And oh, you definitely want that to be destroyed. So, your best way to destroy a building in this game is by destroying those who make the building. You take away the ability to construct the building, and the building will just eventually just rot away, I suppose. As you can see, the civilians is kind of stupid just a little bit. Ah. The battleship does a lot more damage though, and I have to admit that. And the Russians seem to be taking in full attack Komblitz, which is now American territory. Whilst the British are in full stride of taking over Japanese city, the city of Yanakazawa. And Tokyo is not that far away, or Kyoto, I'm sorry. Where's Tokyo? Wouldn't Tokyo be the capital? I guess back then Tokyo wasn't the capital. But as you can see, the battleship does a lot of damage just from being there alone. It does tremendous amounts of damage. You can make about 3 battleships and you can probably take them around the whole, you can just probably destroy the whole armada. Or the whole fleet, I'm sorry. Now, it might seem pretty stupid attacking caravans, but really it's not. If you're dealing with a human player, really most of the human players don't know what to do once you defeat the caravans, because the caravans are the primary source of, just economics, food, wood, ore, oil, everything pretty much. I already said food. Once you take away the caravans, their trade is completely disrupted, and once that happens, they really have nothing left to do. Vienna which is the capital city, is now under full assault by our allies, and it's like a never. It's almost like there's never end on assault. You can see the Germans are putting up quite a bit of a fight, but it's really no point because they're definitely just going to lose this battle. The Tiger tanks are pretty good though, I gotta admit. They do a hell of a lot of damage. And these armored scout cars, which they do a little bit of a damage, not too much though. Now if I were to move my battleships, oh they do have some battleships, okay. They do or know where I am. Now I can defend an entire area, I think. I'm not really sure. Now, as you can see, that you know, the other Japanese, or not Japanese, sorry, the other Germans, Otto von Bismarck, and his, you know, his forces are converging on the Russians and the Americans right now because his allies need it, and his allies are about to fall if he doesn't, you know, get any support. The Russians and the Americans are pretty much doing a tag team right now, while the British are fighting off against the Japanese, which really doesn't seem like history is very accurate at all. Now it seems the Russians are fighting the Japanese, which I suppose would be accurate, because the Japanese did try to attack Russia at one point. Now as you can see, there's a big dogfight going on right now with the Japanese Zeros and then the British, I'm not really sure what they were called back then. What is that aircraft carrier doing? Now as you can see, the airplanes are patrolling this area. Seems that the Americans are doing a lot of damage over here to the Germans. That, unfortunately, the British are actually doing a lot more damage. The, you know, Kyoto is about to fall. The British are bringing in the rest of their regiment, or the rest of their, you know, their reinforcements. But really, uh-oh, I need more oil. That's unfortunate. Good thing I can make oil refineries now, though. Unfortunately, I can't do that yet. What does it require? Science. Yeah, Kyoto's about to fall. I mean, the Russians and the British are doing just tremendous amounts of damage on the Japanese right now. It's just a matter of time before, you know, Kyoto does fall. Timber! Koblenz is now under Allied control. Seems like this area over here is just a stalemate. There really isn't much change at all. It's a constant battle for land over here. The Germans are putting up a pretty good fight. Let's go ahead and research more. I love me research on the light. Or the science. Science is life. Science is love. Okay, once we do that we can start researching into oil refineries. Oops. Nope. Okay, we can start building oil refineries. Must be built near a new city. What does a refinery do? I have no absolute idea. I really have no idea what a refinery does. Oil wells. There we go. We can just build an oil well out there. Now, Kyoto is about to fall completely under British control, maybe Russian a little bit. But as you can see, there really isn't much change when it comes to the Americans over here. On my side, however, there seems to be a little bit of a couple problems. I mean, the battleships aren't taking much damage because, you know, most of the damage is being averted from the planes, you know, offering true defense. Can I build an oil well that's not there? This is an oil well. Why can't I build an oil well? I suppose that most oil wells are already taken. I assume. Kyoto is now under control by the British forces. God save the Queen. There's just a huge bulk of both American and Russian forces over here, and there's just a big fortress in between. Can I upgrade my oil refinery? I cannot. It's unfortunate. Well, as you can see, my battleships are doing, you know, a total amount of just unprecedented damage to the shipyards and the, you know, the seaboard buildings that are surrounding the German Empire, or the fascist empire, I guess you can call it, of Nazi Germany. The British and the Russians just completely just overran Kyoto, And now Sendai and Mito is their only remaining targets. But there are the capital, but there are 2 more buildings left. There's Uwajima and Kobe. Like Kobe Bryant almost. So let's see, the Germans have the same thing they've had for a couple turns now. I wonder if I can go ahead and start, you know, building more battleships and building more of these. Oh, I can't yet. Okay, that's unfortunate. You know, most of my ships just rely completely on just the battleships themselves and the airplanes that are supporting them. I don't know why they decided to bring it that far. Uh-oh. They destroyed a bit of my airplanes. I have to admit, they did destroy a bit of my airplanes. It seems now that the American forces and the Germans are still colliding one by one. The bazookas are doing a bit of damage to the flamethrowers, but not too much. And the radar air defense of the Germans, basically this is basically a SAM turret back in World War II times, where it would destroy an entire aircraft. Where if an airplane were to fly by, there would be lights, you know, drawn immediately to it, and a turret commander would have basically, he would have had full control over this thing, where he would basically run it pretty much just like a car or like a bicycle, where he would use the turn or pedal it, and he would turn it and fire. And it did a tremendous amount of damage to Allied airplanes and Allied Allied bombers. We have some reinforcing battleships coming in. Now, battleships are very hard to come by because they're very, very expensive. And Kyoto is now under Japanese control once more, but not for long. See, the Japanese, with a little help from the, you know, Germans, they did manage to take Kyoto back, but it's not going to last. Even with the Germans bringing in reinforcements, it's not going to last because, you know, the British and the Russians have all this thing covered. They've got the Russian reinforcements coming in, and they've got this British, just monster force over here preparing for, you know, a major onslaught. And the Americans just seem to be bulking over here. They just seem to be like a bodybuilder, just bulking their military might. But it's just, that's all they seem to be doing. Maybe I might be wrong, but from what I see, it's all I can see right now is that they're just bulking their forces. Almost like they're bragging about it. These battleships do a tremendous amount of damage to the buildings. Oops. Need more metal. How do you get more metal? Build more mines. Okay, we need to build more mines. Let's build some mines or a smelter. Smelter probably seems easier. As you can see, my airplanes will repeatedly come out and protect my battleships when they're in danger. At least that's what it's supposed to be doing. Yep. They refuel and then they come out. I mean, they refocus and reassault. Ooh, that's a big German assault force right there. It seems that the Germans have adopted the idea of a blitzkrieg, which basically that is the idea of full-on assault, which is basically how they got Stalingrad in World War II, was they did a full-on assault of the Russian forces. They would have sent all their forces, or at least a huge bulk of their forces, right into Russia, leaving most of their flanks completely exposed and completely vulnerable. This in turn was their downfall because most of their flanks were vulnerable, so the Americans, after D-Day, was pretty easy to take over, you know, German territory, because once the Battle of Normandy was over with, which basically the reason why that battle was so hard was because the beaches were so heavily defended. Most of the hilltops had machine gunners, MG42. It was completely just utter chaos. But you know, once that battle was over with, the rest of the battles like Market Day, the Battle of Market, other battles like that, the Battle of the Bulge. Those were hard battles, but you know, they were the only hard battles afterwards, for most of the time. Because the Russians basically, you know, I guess you could say, used the Germans' ideas against them with the Blitzkrieg assault, where they would not only send in a Blitzkrieg, but a full-on just onslaught of just Russian forces into eastern Germany and just completely just demolish any resistance like. In a way, they would say resistance was futile for Germans, because if they resisted, they would pretty much be, you know, completely just eradicated. And as you can see, my battleships are doing a little bit of damage to the Germans already. It's starting to, you know, do a major effect on the Germans, you know, both their spirit and both their trade. Metal alloys. The Oath of Faith. Quite a bit of stuff. Kyoto is now once again under British Allied control. The city of Yanazawa is soon to be under Allied control, but it's putting up a bit of a fight. It seems that the remaining Japanese forces sent in a counterattack from the west and are heading down to attack and probably reclaim their city, which would probably be the smart idea. But yeah, this is and the Germans are just bulking completely up. They took back their entire city of Koblenz, and Dresden is just completely just defenseless right now. The Allies are under a bit of scrutiny because now they have really nothing to Yeah, they kind of jumped the gun when it came to bulking their forces instead of, you know, sending those forces into really needed defense of the cities. Now Yanazawa is completely under, well, it's still actually under Japanese control, unfortunately. And there's a city over here, Shimoda. I don't know why Shimoda is still under Japanese control. I'm not quite for sure why, but it still is. The city is lost. That's unfortunate. Well, as you can see, guys, the AI is putting up one heck of a fight. They really just... It's almost like a dog-eat-dog world for the AI, because if they lose everything, pretty much. And, you know, I gotta admit, the AI in this game is pretty well done. It's very difficult for new players, especially playing against hard AI without any allies at all, or ally support. I gotta say, this game is really fun to play with. I hope you guys have liked the video. If you like any of this World War II commentary that I'm doing, you know, please let me know. And yeah, I'll see if I can't do more historical battles or more historical gameplay videos for you guys. If you want to see just, you know, multiplayer matches of this stuff, you know, hit me up with a like and hit me up with a comment on who you want to see me play. I could talk to Lionheart if I can. I don't know if he will want to do this or not. But yeah, I can talk to people who are famous YouTubers and who want to do strategy games. Or I can talk to people who just want to, you know, play with somebody in general. I really couldn't find anybody to play with. I found 2 people that I had to leave earlier because I couldn't understand what they were saying, because I guess they were, you know, I don't know, they weren't very talkative, I guess, and they didn't really have microphones, so yeah, kind of an unfortunate thing in my case. But yeah, hope you guys like this video. Rise of Nations is my favorite game so far. I have to say that. I hope it's one of yours from the videos that I'm showing. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye, everybody. Have a great one. See you in the next video.